Okay, so I'm basically testing my gear here, and I have a few things to talk about, and this is my yet another attempt on vlogging. And I'm consciously doing the same kind of mistake that I did before. I'm going completely off script, even though I do have two topics for two different videos. And I'm not sure if I want to touch upon any of that. I just want to start. I'm not even sure if I'm going to post it, which probably would be wise when I go off script. But we'll see how things go. Previously, I started recording videos trying to be useful. And I do think that my experience and how I process things and quite a bit of my life could be useful for others. But when you try to be something, even trying to be yourself is very different from actually being yourself. And trying to be useful, it felt different from just being. I think I prefer doing a few dumb videos, uploading them or not, and then see how things go, because I think my only goal here is to be honest. Since very recently I realized that my other goal would be just to practice how to talk about my life, because I'm building a philosophy, like something about how to be a human being, something that I've been processing through my personal experience, through quite a few things that went not in the most pleasant way for me, I would say. Then shifting towards more like alignment to who I truly am, figuring that out. Quite a few things had happened, quite a few things I've tried, failed at, had to rethink. And all of that, I do think that could be useful for others. But my goal is not to teach. My goal is more like being recognized. Like, when you watch a random video of a random human being on YouTube and you see that, oh, I also feel like that. I'm also in this situation. Those are my thoughts, my feelings. I can relate. And somehow it makes you better. It makes you feel better, like you're not alone. And I felt alone for a very long time, like existentially alone. I do have friends which I love dearly. I have people around me. I have people, like, I do have humans around me. But somehow I always felt lonely in this search for things to make sense, for life to make sense, for another way of being compared to what people normally accept. And there are quite a few things out there. Each culture, each tradition has its own way of thinking, seeing things, whatever. But it's all more or less the same, unfortunately. And there is some truth in many things, like there is some truth in religion, there is some truth in tradition, there is some truth in whatever popular movement there is, but it never felt like fully true to me. And moving through life with this, feeling that there is something off, there is something that doesn't quite make sense, it was so frustrating. But what was even more frustrating, which actually made me feel alone, is that I haven't met people who care enough to dig deeper and to try to rethink life. Quite often people just choose the lane, choose the tradition, choose the movement, choose the ideology, choose another thought that is out there, and they just follow it. Yeah, some people create some excuse my language, and I've been swearing, I will be swearing a lot here, and so probably should get used to it, and I shouldn't apologize, but some people create some weird shit instead of actually, I don't know, thinking more carefully. I don't know. Who cares? Anyway, it's not my job to criticize. It's not my job to assess any other idea out there. But what I discovered through my own experience, and I discovered it accidentally, just following my gut, just having some things to work through, having some feelings about life that I needed to process. What I discovered is actually what's useful is not creating an idea or following an idea, but rather detaching from ideas that are out there. And it's been a very interesting process for me. Again, I was doing it intuitively. It's just helped me process some daily, I don't know, inconvenience, confusion, relationships, attachments, just normal human stuff that was bothering me. But what I was doing is actually detaching from all the ideas, all the shoulds in my head, like what I should be, should do, should behave. And in a few years, like 3 years, I guess, I've been doing that daily. Now I don't do it that much. Now I do it occasionally, but for about 3 years, I've been doing that daily. What I realized is that world looks very, very different without inherited ideas, without historical ideas. And actually it makes way more sense. So what I'm thinking is that humanity at large is caught up in all the ideas that just don't work. It's historical ideas that we received from, again, families, history books, parents, peers, movements, ideology, politics, cultures, etc., etc. And now we're like massively confused and hurting. But what actually frustrated me along the way, it's not only that people don't try to figure it out, because it's unfair of me to say so. Because, okay, I had a certain, let's say, interest in how life works. I had a certain dissatisfaction with how life is perceived by others, what people say it should be. I was just unhappy. Like, why am I as a woman like have to do certain things, why success is defined how it is, why it actually exists, why people want power, like what does it freaking mean, stuff like that. But other people, they just live their normal lives. They have daily things to do, they have families, they have jobs, they have their own battle. And it was really unfair of me to say that, oh, nobody cares about life, oh, nobody rethinks it. Well, first of all, I think like my path is unique. It's more like a thinker. It's not a popular profession nowadays, like being a philosopher. I think earlier, when we had less information out there, when we didn't have like anything, television, internet, AI, people were trying to make sense of things, so they received less and they thought more. It feels like it. I don't know. This is just my hunch. So people dedicated more time to create something, to make things make sense, to have their own experience, to create art, to build something. Now we just consume, consume, consume because we are pretty comfortable. It's good that we are. But I think there's also too much noise, and I think we forgot how to process things. We rely on consumption, rely on someone else to solve things. Oh, there's a dedicated human to do that. There's the human responsible for that. It's not my business. I would just complain. And yeah, it feels like that. It feels like we don't rethink things anymore. But I think we should. So again, it's unique to me to have this interest in life and rethinking from scratch, making sense of things. It was a unique experience for me to, well, undo all the beliefs, at least all that I have found. If I find more, I will be undoing more. Like rewiring my shoulds, that's also unique to me. And complaining that nobody else does it is actually very unfair of me to say. Maybe there is a point in it. Maybe someone has to do it first. Maybe someone has to raise those questions. And this is exactly why I'm here, because first of all, again, I'm still looking for humans who do see the world, at least partially, the way that I see it. I'm curious to have a conversation about how world works, because I'm sure there's a lot for me to discover and to learn and to adjust my own thinking, become better at it, be more useful. And another thing, I think that my perception of the world already could be useful for people who are lost. And specifically, I would say for women, even though this is not my goal, it's just, the body that I was born into. And quite recently, I know it sounds ridiculous, but only a few months ago, I realized that most of my experience, most of the things that I was uncomfortable with or framed as a world problem, most of those experiences are specific to being in a female body. So what I realize is that things that don't make sense actually happen to me, most probably because I am a woman, and that was an uncomfortable thought, because I genuinely don't want to see things this way. I don't want to, like, I think it's wrong. Okay, I think when people treat each other differently according to anything external, body included, that's just weird. To me, it doesn't make sense, but people do it. So it's one of those times when I see how historical patterns affect behavior of people now. It makes me deeply sad about the world and deeply disappointed. And I'm like, what am I doing here? Even, damn, this is so absurd. But anyway, maybe someone, what I truly believe is that there are people out there who are also questioning things. They're just too busy with their lives, that they don't dig as deeper, as deep, sorry. They don't dig as deep as I did. But having someone just talking about these things, raising those questions, trying to figure out what other way of being a human there is, that could be useful. That could be useful for women specifically. But again, I think it could be useful for all. And another thing, like the last thing that I would like to mention, probably I'll go deeper on that later, because I really don't think anyone would listen to me that long. Another thing that occurred to me recently is that, frankly, my whole experience is about rethinking God. And again, I never framed my life like that. More so, I think that religion is a cause of many, many, many wrong ideas that are harmful to humanity. Like any religion, I don't care what religion. Some are better, some religions maybe have better angles, some may not. It really doesn't matter. But what I recently realized is that I think if I had to describe my whole experience, I could describe it as connecting with this higher part of myself, which people call people call differently. People call it like higher self, true knowing, inner truth, intuition, follow your heart, God within. It really doesn't matter what it's called, but I think this is the thing that I neglected for a certain part of my life, and I have some learning from that. I had some ramifications of that choice, not listening to what I knew was true. And I'm learning to listen to it now. And again, I don't think the word God is necessarily needs to be applied here, but it is how I see God, and I will probably speak about that separately in another video. So yeah, I'm rethinking what it means to be human. I'm rethinking what God means. I'm rethinking the whole world, how it works, relationships, how they work, starting with relationship with the self, and then building those with others. What love means, things like that. And yeah, I guess I'm tired of doing that alone, on my own. I want some dialogue. I want some. I just. I'm just curious how many people are out there who feel the same, or can, I would say, benefit from what I already discovered, or again, I'm just curious how many people out there who have similar questions. And yeah, I think this is good for my first video. There's a high chance that my tech is off. I mean, I have no idea if my setup works, so I think I need to just rewatch it and see if it's recorded at all. Yeah, welcome to my channel.